Many boys and girls make puppets and have fun playing them. Here is a musician leading his orchestra. This puppet was made by Ruth Ann. Clowns are fun to make too. Would you like to see how to make a puppet? There are three main parts to this puppet: the head, the hands, and the dress. We will start out by making the head of our next puppet from a solid piece of plasticine. The neck should be small to fit the second finger. Make a ridge in this way. This ridge will hold the puppet's dress in place. Shape a nose in the middle of the puppet's head. Now make the eye sockets by pressing down. Make the mouth in this way. We will need to make the features of the face stand out, so we will put coils of the plasticine around the mouth and around the eyes. Rolled balls can be used for the eyes. Coils can also be used for ears. Now the head is ready to be covered. This form is made just to build the puppet's head on. Now I will show you how to build the paper head. Cover the head this way. This is the first covering. Broad strips will cover the neck and back. Use narrow strips to cover the eyes, nose, mouth, and ears. Use a small stick to place the paper around the eyes and mouth. Be sure to cover the ridge around the neck, but do not put strips of paper on the bottom. This is the way the puppet's head will look after you have finished the first covering. The second layer of paper should be a torn green sheet. Green or colored paper is used so you will know when you have covered the head completely. The first layer does not need to be dry, so start right in pasting the green strips on the head. Now repeat the covering with torn strips of paper toweling. Do it just as you did the newspaper and green sheet. To make the puppet's head real strong, we can repeat these three coverings again. The fourth will be of newspaper. The fifth of green sheet. And the sixth of paper toweling. Next, shape the hand of your puppet like a mitt. Make a ridge at the wrist. This ridge will hold the puppet's sleeve in place. The mitt should fit the thumb of your hand like this. Make the second hand the same way, but make it fit the third finger. This is done so that the head can be placed on the second finger in this way. Now cover the hands with 6 layers of torn paper strips, the same way you did with the head. Be sure to cover the ridge, but do not cover the end of the mitt. The second covering will be the green sheet, and the third paper toweling. The fourth covering on the puppet's hand will be of newspaper, and the fifth of green sheet, and the sixth paper toweling. Now cover the second hand the same way you covered the first hand. Let the head and hands dry for at least 2 days. After the head is dry, cut it open beside the ears. Take the plasticine out and fit the two parts of the head together. Paste 3 layers of paper toweling crosswise to join these parts. Continue pasting strips of toweling on top and side of the head. After the hands are dry, cut them open lengthwise at the thumb. Then take the plasticine out of the hands. Now it is time to paint the puppet. Use poster paint. You can use any color that you choose. It is easier to paint the head and hands at the same time. Paint in the eyes and mouth. Have fun when you paint the face of your puppet. Create new colors and ideas to show expression. Many materials can be used for hair: cotton string, wool yarn, or raffia. Try several on your puppet to see which you like best. Let's see how we make hair out of yarn by sewing it through the middle of each strand. Put paste on the head. Place hair on top of the head. Cut a paper pattern for the dress of your puppet. Be sure it is long enough to reach your elbow and wide enough to give room to play your puppet. Create your own collars, hats, belts, or jackets to complete your puppet. Next, take a piece of cloth about 2 feet long and 1 foot wide and fold. Pin the pattern around the pattern. Sew up both sides string through this cuff to hold the puppet's hand in place. Fold back the neck edge and sew. Place a drawstring in this fold so it can be gathered around the puppet's neck. Turn the dress right side out. Place the head in the neck of the dress. Draw the string and tie. Place the hand in the sleeve and pull the gathering string to fit. Elastic thread can be used as well as ordinary string. Here is the complete puppet ready to act on the puppet stage. Now let's see the front of the stage. Learn to move your puppet easily and use interesting colors and materials in making your puppet's dress. Puppets make people of other lands seem more real to us. Many different kinds can be made. Make puppets to help you play out stories, poems, songs, and dances, or your own plots and interesting things that happen. You see how easy it will be for you to make your own puppet and have a show. What kind of a puppet will you make?
Hello everyone, I'm Skip Alsheimer of AV Geeks. Happy Monday. What's everybody having for lunch? Thanks for joining me today. I collect old 16mm films and I've been showing them to folks for lunch. This is coming up on week 4, I think. It's fascinating. People don't like puppets, or there's some psychic damage that is caused by puppets, and I like it. I did a show called Strings Attached that was all marionettes, and there were some people in the audience that could not tolerate it, and in fact actually had to leave halfway through because they realized that it was all marionettes. Maybe this is an early version of Uncanny Valley where it's too real. Who knows? It could be some childhood trauma. But puppets and clowns and mimes. It seems like you guys, that's a gray territory where some people can't take it. So, anyways, frame rate. Okay, I'll work on that. So I'm on a different computer today. And because I had to move some stuff around, and so there's probably some tech issues that we'll have to work out. It probably won't happen today, but I'll do it tomorrow. So hopefully it's not a big problem. I tried to boost the bandwidth, but that might be causing problems. So I'll probably bring that back down at some point. Anyways, thanks for joining me for lunch. I'm having barbecue. I know a lot of teacher friends of mine have been getting back online after spring break and are working on... oh, you like the frame rate better. Okay, I need to stop reading the comments. Anyways, I know a lot of teachers are getting online and are trying to help kids. I don't know. It's hard to say. But this film is designed to help us study at home. So here is how to study. Enjoy.
One day in civics class, Mr. Anderson gave their choice of topics on which to write reports. The reports had to be completed in 2 weeks. After considering the list carefully, Jim Chandler decided on the 3rd topic. Should labor unions be required to incorporate? He thought this topic would be interesting to investigate. Naturally, such a report calls for a good deal of study. And this is the story of how Jim, who is no more fond of studying than most, makes it as enjoyable and profitable as he can by studying in the most practical way. The various students in this room have many ways of studying. And ways of not studying. Wasting time and effort. All of them could accomplish more with less effort by making better use of their time. Let's see how Jim uses his time. There are 2 weeks in which to write his civics report. Of course, Jim also has other studying to do. During study period today, for example, he has 1 hour, but he can't use all of this time for the report. So he decides how long to spend on each assignment. First, he has to get ready for science class this afternoon. Then the rest of the hour he can give to his civics report. Budgeting your time to make the most of it is one of the skills involved in study. Study skills can be developed, just as the skills involved in sports can be developed. By paying attention to them and practicing them. You can improve your skill in reading, for example, by paying attention to how you read. Consider the different rates of reading. First, there is skimming. You skim in order to find the parts of the book or chapter you need. You look over the material quickly, like this. Material. What it is generally about. Third, there is careful reading. Reading slowly in order to understand thoroughly each idea expressed by the writer. In careful reading, you take time to stop and make mental summaries of what you've read. Finally, there is rereading. Reading the same material again to fix it in your mind, to relate it to other things you know. The rate of reading you should use depends on the purpose of your reading and the nature of the material you are studying. You can develop these reading skills by paying attention to them and by practicing them, as Jim has done. Now the 30 minutes Jim allotted to science are up. Time to start work on his civics report. This calls for skill in organizing his work so that he can make the most effective use of his time and effort. First, he writes a list of the things he knows about labor unions. But some of the things he's not sure of. So he decides to make another list, a list of the things he does not know. These are the questions he will try to answer through further study. His search for information begins in his civics book. First, he goes through the table of contents to find the chapter on labor. Then, he skims this chapter, looking for material about labor unions and incorporation. When he finds the section he wants, he reads it quickly, trying to get hold of the large ideas. Now he finds the paragraphs relating directly to his topic, and he reads these slowly and carefully. Then he goes back to reread the material, to make it his own. By the time the study period is over, Jim has made a good start in preparing for his report. He's accomplished this through careful planning. 2 days later, Jim has some more time to give to his civics report, and he's comparing his progress with Steve. Jim hasn't found all the material he needs in his civics textbook, but he knows a way to get it. In the text, at the end of the chapter on labor, is a bibliography, a list of other books on the subject. This is an important reference for finding additional materials. The main source of such added information, Jim knows, is the library. He finds his material quickly because he knows the overall plan of the library. He knows how to use the card catalog in order to locate any book in the library. He looks under the economics heading for books relating to his report. He also knows how to use the Reader's Guide to find material in magazines and other periodicals. And he's familiar with the standard reference books for general material. Who's Who for biographical data, the dictionary for definitions of words, and encyclopedias for general information on topics. Of course, sometimes you want more material than you can find in a library. Then where do you go? Jim decides to visit a lawyer who he knows can answer some of his questions about corporations. First-hand information of this kind makes a report more interesting and more complete. No matter what topic you're studying, book material can always be supplemented in this manner by personal interview. Later, Jim writes to the National Labor Relations Board. Government and private agencies are another source of information. By the time he gets the answer to his letter, Jim has completed his other research. He has located all the material he needs for his report. Today, he has allotted himself a full study period for outlining and writing the report so that he won't be rushed. Jim is no wonder student, and studying is not his favorite activity. But since he has to study, he has made it as interesting and profitable as possible by developing his study skills. We have seen some of these skills as he prepared his report. Skill in planning his time. Skill in reading at the proper rate to suit his particular purpose. And skill in locating the study materials he needs without waste motion. All of us can learn to do more work in less time with less effort by practicing sound principles of how to study.
Hello. Yes. How to study. I guess this doesn't really apply because it involves going to the library. It also involves card catalogs, which some of you have pointed out are now gone, defunct. Yeah, I remember, flipping through, flip, and pull a card, the whole drawer out and the smell. There's something wonderfully tactile about card catalogs, and I miss it a little bit. Having to then get a piece of paper, a little golf pencil, and write down the call number. And also, it's interesting. I have many librarian friends, and Dewey Decimal is not really. A lot of people don't like him. Dewey was not a good person, and also I think that you actually have to pay to use the Dewey Decimal System. That there's some sort of system involved. And I know that the local university, NC State, doesn't actually use Dewey Decimal. They have some other system that they use. So there you go. All right, so I know the garbage is piling up, and it's a difficult time for you, and you don't know what to do about it. This film was made by General Electric, and it's introducing a new concept, brand new concept. And what's fascinating about this is that this was made during a time that there weren't such a thing as trash bags. So you see how the housewife disposes of trash, and it's kind of fascinating. So here's Goodbye to Garbage. Enjoy.
Has this ever happened to you? You wrap the garbage from your sink into a handy piece of newspaper. It makes a soggy package, but, well, you'll make it. At least you hope you will. And then, all over a nice, clean kitchen. Exasperating, isn't it? Living would be easier, and your work in the kitchen a lot less messy, if you never had to worry about a garbage can or a garbage collection. Wouldn't it be fun to never have to wrap a bit of garbage, never have to do anything to get rid of garbage, except to twist a top like this? And another thing about a General Electric Super Grind Disposal. This wonderful appliance is completely out of your way, virtually invisible, until you're ready to use it. And now let's take a look at a cutaway photo of the model we see here. This is what the inside's like. Here's the twist top. It serves as the on and off switch, too. The 2-quart capacity hopper, the shredding ring, the flywheel, and the impellers. And here's how all these look in the actual disposal unit. Under the hopper being removed now is the shredding area of the disposal. And in the heart of this shredding area is a stainless steel flywheel. As this flywheel rotates more than 1,750 times a minute, it acts to force food waste into the shredding ring. Here in the ring, food waste is reduced to the tiniest of particles by the carbaloy cutter. Made of the hardest steel known to man, this cutter grinds any type of waste with ease and means long life for your disposal, too. These are the 2 impellers that hold food wastes against the shredding ring until waste is ground finely enough to be washed down the drain. And watch this. If a bone or other type of really coarse particle should try to jam the unit, the jam-resistant impellers back away and rotate to clear the jam. This is the fruit flipper. Located off-center on the flywheel, it tumbles articles like grapefruit rinds over and over within grinding reach of the shredder ring. These are the shredder ring openings through which, once all of it has been finely ground, food waste is carried by centrifugal action to be washed down the drain by the running water. Here are slow-motion scenes of how a General Electric Super Grind Disposal works. See how it's cutting these grapefruit halves down to size and never giving them a chance to escape from the cutting action of the carbaloy cutter. And here's how coarse particles like corn cobs get the works inside a General Electric disposal. In almost less time than it takes to tell you about it, they'll be whittled down to corn kernel size or smaller and given a one-way ticket down the drain. The ease with which you can dispose of food wastes like corn cobs and watermelon, grapefruit, and other rinds is one of the greatest joys of owning a General Electric disposal. Think this bone can stop a General Electric disposal? Remember what I told you about that carbaloy cutter. The bone doesn't have a chance. And remember, too, what happened when that other bone tried to jam a disposal. The jam-resistant impellers outfoxed it. They'll do the same thing here. That's life with the General Electric disposal under your sink. You simply twist the top, and your garbage worries are over. General Electric disposals require a minimum of attention. Cost less to operate than an electric clock. Will even work on a septic tank. There's a model to exactly fit your needs. Yes, goodbye to garbage. That's what this happy woman might be saying about her new General Electric disposal, one of many great appliances for a more gracious way of living, brought to you by General Electric.
Wasn't that awesome? That was a film I purchased on eBay years and years and years and years ago. It was actually part of a box of films about electricity, and I don't know, it probably was cleaned out of somebody's closet, but there was all sorts of fascinating things in there, including a film that I might show tomorrow, which is a baffling, wonderful film. It's silent, but it is quite something. Anyhow, when my wife and I bought this house that I'm in now, it has a garbage disposal. I don't think I would have actually installed one. And so it's a very odd thing. We don't really use it. We don't take all our trash and dump it in there and just let it go. It's really just to clear whatever debris we have. Because it's not really a good idea to have all that stuff going through your sewer lines. Anyhow, yeah, it was great. Say in the late 40s, early 50s, and it's for home ec students, and it talks about how to buy food. And why this is interesting to me is that it talks about the food grades, which is something that we don't really think about anymore. I mean, you'll see like a can of something and it says grade A on it. But do you ever see any other grade, like grade B or C or D? You don't, really. And this explains why, might explain why, but not really. It's kind of fascinating. Anyways, here's buying food, something that has become very strange nowadays. So enjoy.
The American housewife. Who has a more important, a more responsible occupation? Wife, mother, laundress, counselor, maid, chef, purchasing agent. All of these are her duties at one time or another. If her income is limited, and most incomes are, it is her duty to be sure that what she has to spend buys the most in healthful, nutritious food for her family. Yes, she feels that she must buy wisely if she can. But just what does this mean? What can she do to be sure her money goes as far as possible? One of the first things she can do is just what this young lady is doing. Shopping from a grocery list. Using the list tends to eliminate so-called impulse buying, which is a great waster of housewives' funds. What is impulse buying? Let's take a look at Henry Slinkman. He's frequently guilty of it. Henry's going to pick up something for dinner. His wife didn't tell him what to get. Anything that looks good, she said. Henry's been working hard all day and he's hungry. What's more, he's hungry for something different, getting tired of the same old things all the time. That's it. That's what he's hungry for, oysters. So Henry takes not one, not two, but 3 pints of oysters. The way he feels right now, he could eat all of them by himself. Henry and his wife don't often eat cake. Neither of them care much for it. But tonight, Henry's really hungry, and this cake certainly looks wonderful. Henry knows he ought to have some vegetables, good diet, and all that, you know. What's this? Henry's never seen anything like this before. Looks good, so he'll take 2. Yes, Henry is guilty of impulse buying. But how is impulse buying wasteful? When Henry finished dinner that evening, he was sure he wouldn't be able to eat another oyster for a long, long time. And almost 2 of the 3 pints that Henry bought will have to be thrown away. Neither Henry nor his wife cared for the new vegetable. Most of what he bought will go to waste. Henry and his wife tired of the cake long before it was eaten. Henry found out about impulse buying the hard way. The housewife may buy quantities which are not economical for her family. Here are 2 different size cans of the same product. The small can contains 16 ounces and costs 12 cents, or 75/100ths of a cent per ounce. The large can contains 31 ounces and costs only 22 cents, which is 71/100ths of a cent per ounce. Which shall she buy? The answer depends entirely upon the situation. If the food requirements of the family are great enough, the large can is the better buy, because all of it will be used. None will be left over. But if the family is small, the small can may be the better buy, since part of the large can would probably have been wasted. The right answer depends upon the requirements of the purchaser. Problem that some people may not be able to solve. It's wise to be sure the food is well liked by everyone before you buy too much of it. Obviously, highly perishable foods are not suitable for quantity buying because they spoil too quickly. When buying canned goods, be sure to read the label. The information on the label is much more reliable than the flowery language of advertisements. Some labels are of the descriptive type that you see here, giving the buyer some description of what is to be found in the can. Other labels carry a letter grade, which indicates the characteristics of the contents. The meanings of the letters vary with the type of food. Usually, the grade A indicates a fancier product. For example, these grade A tomatoes are larger, more colorful, and less broken than the grade C, although both grades are probably equally nutritious and healthful. These are canned string beans. Which is grade A and which is grade C? Here, the smaller beans are grade A because they are more tender and taste better. Here are grade A and grade C peaches. Can you tell the difference? Of course you can't. Not only appearance, but taste and degree of ripeness determine the grades of these peaches. The size is of small importance. The thing to remember is to read the label. Know what you are buying before you buy. Did you ever stop to think how many ways you could buy one kind of food? Dried, canned, frozen, or fresh. It will pay you to analyze the situation and decide which is most economical for you. Usually, if it's the season when the fruit or vegetable is ripe, it will be most economical to buy it fresh. This box of strawberries will cost about half as much in summer when berries are plentiful, as it will in winter. The season of the year has a tremendous influence on the price of most fruits and vegetables. The reason for this great difference in price is the cost of transporting the food from a warm climate where it can be grown in winter to the market, which may be several hundred miles distant. Different kinds of fruits and vegetables are in season at different times throughout the year. It will be more economical for you to serve the ones that happen to be in season at any particular time. You may find that you can save money by doing your own preservation of foods. Home canned food will usually cost less than commercially canned, and if the housewife's time is not too highly valued, this can be a saving. Frozen foods are the nearest thing to fresh foods available. They are convenient, easily prepared, and palatable, but they are usually priced higher than other types. This price is partially offset by the fact that there is no waste. There are various meats available to the housewife, ranging from the most tender, most expensive cuts to the equally nutritious but less tender portions of the animal, which are sometimes ground or chopped. At this point, the cooking ability of the housewife becomes highly important. It doesn't take much skill to make an excellent meal from an expensive T-bone steak. But the sign of an accomplished cook is an attractive and tasty dish made from less expensive meat: hamburger, frankfurters. Even a well-prepared, well-seasoned stew is a dish a housewife can be proud to set before her family. The nutritive value of meats varies little with price. The desirability and small proportion of the tender cuts causes them to be priced higher. Milk is an important part of every good diet, but your attempts to economize on it may have disastrous results. Use the best grade of milk available to you. Disease may be contracted through drinking unsanitary raw milk. Decide upon the most economical quantity for your family. Check in your local market as to which form of food is the most economical for you. Purchase fruits and vegetables in season whenever possible. Do your own food preservation when feasible. Exercise your skill and ingenuity in preparing tasty and healthful dishes from less expensive meats. You'll find that keeping these things in mind will help you to buy wisely and stay within your food budget.
Nice. Yeah, I think that it's a fascinating film because it really shows what a grocery store looked like. And this, I think, was the beginnings of the supermarkets, like right when this was beginning to appear. I could be wrong with that timing, but some people pointed out how small the freezer section was. I mean, think about how much space is dedicated in most supermarkets now to just frozen pizza. It's outrageous. And how much is dedicated to just toothpaste. Every once in a while I think about, like, wow, how much of this grocery store is dedicated just to pizza? Like, there's not only the frozen pizza, but then there's like the pizzas section of the Italian section. And, you know, then there's like in the deli, there's a pizza. There's a lot of pizza. It interests me because, and that's why I collect these films, is I like to see what the past looked like. And certainly you guys picked up on the C grade of different types of vegetables and all they have. And what my feeling is, and where they went, is that they either got new classifications or they ended up, those graded things ended up being processed foods and being sent to other places to be processed. So you would, if you had lima beans that were grade C, you could like send them to like a place that's making succotash, and then that maybe you would get lost in that. I don't know. Or maybe potatoes get ground up and then made into frozen mashed potatoes. Or I feel like nobody wants to sell, nobody wants to buy ugly vegetables or fruits, but they're pretty good. But we've all decided that the attractive food is what we want. And so I guess there's some people that are trying to build a movement, an ugly food movement, where it's okay to buy vegetables that look weird and fruit that looks weird. Anyhow, yeah, love that film. So good. All right, so next film. This is pulling out one of my top 10 favorite films. We've been showing lots of films featuring bad boys, naughty boys doing bad things. But this one is an outrageous film showing girls misbehaving. And I've shown this film every chance I get. I did a show called Free Range Kids, which basically just shows kids roaming around big cities and in big environments on their own without parents. And this film definitely fits in that realm, where these two girls misbehave in an amazing way. So this is Fur Coat Club. Enjoy.
Hello?
But John, tell me how you really feel about me.
Oh, you know how I feel.
I know, but just tell me.
Oh, come on. You know how I feel about you.
Tell me, come on.
I love you.
Oh, you really love me. You really.
Yeah, I love you. I love you.
Say it again.
I don't have to keep telling you that.
Must be like these. Again. Tell me again.
I'm telling you right now, I love you.
You love me right now. But what about tomorrow?
So that's Fur Coat Club. Such a great film, and it gets better every single time I watch it. I notice little subtle things, and actually, last time I was in New York, I actually went to where they were in Central Park, and in January actually, and it's just really an amazing film. It's made by Joan Micklin Silver, who was a filmmaker who did a couple of features, but did a couple of shorts for educational markets. So did Fur Coat Club, Case of the Elevator Duck, and I can't remember, there's one or two more that she did. And this is a lot of filmmakers cut their teeth on doing educationals. They were able to get funding, and so this is just such a great film. anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed today's lunchtime screening. We're going to do this again tomorrow. And tomorrow's going to be special, I hope. Tomorrow's my wife's birthday, and so I've actually enlisted her to pick some of her favorite films, and we'll watch them. So that will be tomorrow. It looks like, I don't know, I'm going to have to do some tweaking with this technology. Like, the frame rate is kind of weird, and not a fan. So the image quality might be a little bit worse, but we'll see. I'm going to play with this some. But thanks so much again, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And have a good rest of the day. Take care.